All right. Good morning, everybody. Like I said, as more stories and headlines surface, I had told you guys that I'm going to continue to make videos about Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua. And as everyone knows, the rematch clause has been triggered. But something that we don't know is where is this rematch going to take place? Now, everyone is under the assumption that this rematch is automatically going to take place in the UK for whatever reason. I know Eddie Hearn had indicated that's where he wanted it to be initially, but then he went back and said, we have to sit down and discuss it and negotiate where this rematch is going to be held. But people are still coming out and saying, well, it's in the rematch clause that Eddie Hearn is, has the final say on where the rematch is going to take place. Well, if that's the case, then why is he saying that he's not sure if it's going to be in the UK or not? If he has the final say and he already said that's where he would like it to be, then why wouldn't he just automatically say that it's going to be in the UK no matter what, which he did not do? And I have a link in the description box here to an article with some quotes from Eddie Hearn. And I want to read these quotes from Eddie Hearn. This is from ESPN.com. I believe it's an article that Dan Raphael wrote. If I can find it here. Okay, here it is. It says, as for the date and location, Hearn told ESPN that November was more likely than December. And he said, my gut feeling was the UK, but not guaranteed. These are out of these words are out of his mouth. My gut feeling was the UK, but not guaranteed. So he's basically saying that it's not guaranteed where the rematch is going to be. So by that in itself, it indicates to me that the rematch clause may not have it written in there that he has the final say on location. It still has to be negotiated with the other side. That's just my assumption. Again, that's my assumption based off of the quote here. It said, we have to look at everything. The people at the Zone and Madison Square Garden would like to do part two in the U.S. Okay, Joshua came to Andrew Ruiz's country for the first fight, so it kind of makes sense to the second fight in the UK. So we'll see. So he has to see. So it's not guaranteed according to him, as many people are already assuming and claiming. Okay, so once again, a lot of misinformation is being put out there. Oh, thank you so much, Florian Segrest. Always appreciate the content in your show. I appreciate that. Good morning there, Kiko. How's everyone doing in there? JC, Nelson Santos, what's going on? Okay. And then I'm hearing other things like, well, Anthony Joshua fought Andrew Ruiz in his backyard, so it's only fitting that Andrew Ruiz should go to the UK and return the favor. All right, let's get this straight here. It's not like Andrew Ruiz demanded that the first fight be in the US. They already made the decision themselves to come over to the US. This was supposed to be the American invasion, okay? This was supposed to be AJ's coming out party here in the United States. Okay, so it was their decision to come here. They weren't forced to come here. This was their plan, okay? They came here to conquer the US market. And again, the reason why I think this fight happened in the United States, and this is my opinion, and I think I have some evidence to suggest that, given some recent statements by the Zone, I believe that they were pressured into having this fight in the US because the Zone wanted it in the US, because the Zone, obviously the goal is looking to get more US subscribers. And a great way to do that would be to make Anthony Joshua a face and a name in the United States, which is what the goal was. And apparently that goal may not have succeeded to the extent that they wanted it to. So it's not like this was Andy Ruiz's choice that the fight had to be in the United States. I believe that the main reason why this fight was in the United States, and obviously it was supposed to be with Big Baby Miller, and it was supposed to be in his backyard of New York. So that was supposed to add a little bit of flair to the promotion and a little bit of boost to the promotion initially, but obviously we know what happened there. So at the end of the day, he didn't do Andy Ruiz any favors. There was a substantial amount of UK fans there to help support Anthony Joshua. So it wasn't like he was really this wasn't really like a home court advantage for Ruiz per se. It was pretty much, I would say, uh, the crowd was for Joshua anyways. So obviously we know that it's still different than fighting in the UK if Anthony Joshua. It's not like he has the comforts and the familiarity of fighting in the UK. I'm sure it is still an adjustment for him to come over here and have to fight. But I mean, he came over here early. He was very happy. He was saying a lot of nice things about how he was enjoying being in New York, being in Miami, training for the fight. So, it seemed as though he got acclimated and he was comfortable here. But given the recent reports about all these other crazy things that were going on behind the scenes before and leading up to this fight, who knows? Maybe the pressure of being away from home for the first time could have gotten to him. I don't know. But this is the thing. People are saying Andy Ruiz owes him a fight in the UK. And I already explained that he doesn't. He doesn't owe him anything. I mean, if anything, they owe Andy Ruiz something. He was the only guy that actually answered the call when they were looking for a replacement opponent. Many other big names turned the fight down, namely Luis Ortiz. Okay? So they should thank him because he saved the show. There's a good chance that the show could have been canceled or even postponed if he did not accept the fight on such short notice. So give him some credit for that. I mean, he saved the show, basically. And that's why they were so gracious to him and so thankful to him, during the press conferences for this fight. Oh, Andy Ruiz was the only man that stepped up. He was the only guy that took on the challenge and wanted to come to the table with us. Okay. So you guys owe him something for taking the fight on short notice when many others and most did not want to. And you owe him for saving the show. He doesn't owe you shit. He's the champion. Why should the champion be told where the rematch is if he won the first fight? This was not a courtesy to Andrew Ruiz coming over here to fight in the United States. This was a formality for them. They thought that they were going to walk right over Andy Ruiz, and they didn't. So now, because you lost and you failed at your original goal of enacting your British invasion on the U.S., because you failed at that, you lost the battle. Now you want to just throw in the towel and end the war. You want to run back to the UK. You want to run back to the UK after failing at your original task. You don't want to come back to the scene of the crime and right the mistakes and correct the mistakes and right the wrongs of your attempts to come over here and make a name for yourself and have that UK British invasion on American soil. So you're going to give up on that? When Lennox Lewis lost and Ricky Hatton lost, they still came back to the United States. They didn't give up. So now you're going to give up. You're going to throw in the towel and run right back to the UK because you can't win unless you fight in the UK. Is that the perception that you want to put out there to the public, to the fans? Is that what you want to put out there? Is that the message you want to send to everyone out there, that, hey, people are going to be thinking, well, maybe it's true. Maybe the pressure of fighting in the United States for the first time was too much for him. Maybe he really did take that panic attack back there because he was out of his element, out of his depth. Maybe the moment did get to him, not having the comforts of fighting in the UK. Maybe that did get to him. That's what people are going to say. That's what people are going to say. And DAZN has already mentioned that they want the fight to be back in the Madison Square Garden. That's what DAZN wants. That's what the broadcaster wants. That's what the American broadcaster wants. So I'm sure they're going to really make a push to Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua and urge them to come back to the United States. It only makes sense. So I think if the fight does end up being in the UK, it's going to be a bad look for Anthony Joshua because it's just going to make it look like he feels that he can't win outside of the UK. So is he just going to be the champion of the UK, or is he going to be the world champion? That's the decision that they have to make. That's definitely the decision that they have to make. But let's also talk about Andrew Ruiz's recent comments about the whole situation. In interviews on YouTube saying that he's the boss, he's calling the shots. And then yesterday, when being interviewed by Fight Hub via Marcos Viega, he also said that if they want me to fight in the UK, they're going to have to pay me $50 million. That's what he said. So as I predicted, these negotiations are not going to be as cut and dry as people think. Eddie Hearn gave the indication that he believed that this was just going to be a smooth negotiation. He's trying to get this whole thing wrapped up in a week, already triggering the rematch clause less than 3 days after the fight, and then also saying that we hope to have a venue set by the end of the week. Again, I suspect strongly that Al Heyman already sat down with Andrew Ruiz Jr., and that's why you're hearing him say the things he said. I'm sure Al Heyman said, "You're the boss" to him. I'm sure he said, "Well, you know what? If they really want you to go over to UK, tell them you want 50 million." I'm sure Al Heyman already put a lot of this information on the table for Andy Ruiz. And I'm sure that he's buying right into this. And a lot of things that are being said right now by Andy Ruiz are a result of the conversation he had with Al Heyman, in my opinion. In my opinion. So I think this is not going to be as easy as people think. And I strongly suspect that the rematch will be either in New York or LA, because I think the zone is going to put pressure, as I said, on Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua to come back to the United States. Because, as I said, the goal is and has always been to increase the subscriber base in the United States. That's the goal. And that has always been the goal. So why abandon the goal now because of one mishap? It's like when you're teaching a child to ride a two-wheeler bike and you take the training wheels off and then he falls. Do you tell him to get back up on that bike and ride it again? Or do you throw the training wheels back on it because you failed the first time at teaching him how to ride that bike? So is Anthony Joshua going to throw the training wheels back on the bike and go back to the UK for the rematch? Or is he going to get back up on that bike and ride it and fight back in New York or LA in the United States? What's Anthony Joshua going to do? What is he going to do? That's the big question. That's the big question. That's what you have to ask yourself. These are all the things that you have to ask yourself. What is he going to do? And what should he do? And quite frankly, what do you guys want him to do? I'm sure the UK fans, and I understand that they would want the fight to be back in the UK. I don't have a problem with the UK fans saying all those things and wanting those things. I get it. But, me being from America, I want the fight in the United States. I want the fight in the United States. I would want to go to it this time. This is what I would want to go to this fight, and that's why I'm hoping. I tried to go to the first fight and things didn't work out for me, but now I really want to go to the second fight. So I have some selfish interest here that I want to fight in the United States, but I also think that I don't think Andrew Ruiz will get a fair shake over in the UK, given some of the past performances of AJ over there and some of the treatment that I think he's gotten, preferential treatment that I think he's gotten over there. And even in this fight, it seemed as though he got a little preferential treatment. Because if you go back and listen after the 7th round or during the 7th round, when he's in that corner I thought he got a lot of time to recover, and at times it even looked like the referee was pulling on his trunks, holding him up. You know, so I would just honestly, again, this is just me, and I'm being a conspiracy theorist. I would be skeptical, and I would be concerned if this fight happened in the UK for Andy Ruiz. I'm not so sure he'd get a fair shake. That's just my opinion. I know it's not a popular opinion, but it's my opinion. That's how I feel about it. That's how I definitely feel about it. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. And it's also going to be very interesting as well to see if this thing will be wrapped up by the end of the week, like Eddie Hearn had claimed, and if a official date and venue will be announced by the end of the week, because it just doesn't seem logical that these things are going to happen. That this fight is going to be thrown together within a week's time. It just doesn't make sense that to even suggest or even believe or think that you could just snap your fingers and this rematch is going to already be put together like that. This is going to be I think a more complicated process. I think it's going to be a longer drawn out process because as I said, Al Heyman is going to have a serious influence on what happens in this fight, in my opinion. All right, guys, I think that's about it. Let me read some of these comments here in the chat. Alson Santos says the whole point was to create a name in the United States. In order to fulfill their goal, they must have the rematch in the United States. I agree. Okay. Mamuchar wanted to fight, says Kiko, Carino, Campus. Yeah, well. He says Manuel Char should push for a fight with Andrew Reese Jr. after he defeats Trevor Bryant. Oh, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. All right, guys. I think that's about it for now. There will be more videos coming. Stay tuned. Make sure you click that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, and continue to support the channel because we will continue to be pumping out these videos regularly. And we hope you come back. And we hope you enjoy these videos. All right, till next time, Beavers out. Talk to us soon. Have a great day. Peace out.